All right, welcome aboard, everybody. My name is Doobyis. This show is called Fly in Formation. It's the interview spin-off of my weekly mix show, which is called After the Smoke is Clear. If you want to listen to independent Canadian hip-hop every week, I do a new mix, hour-long mix every week. It's all new release stuff, never play anything twice, and it's all 100% Canadian artists. I'm tapped in with artists across the country at this point, and I do my best to keep up with everybody's new releases. So that happens over at mixcloud.com/Doobyis. Doobyis.com is the hub for everything that I do. Big ups to everybody who comes through in chat. If you end up watching this interview on YouTube, feel free to drop a comment, leave a like, all that good stuff. Hit follow. These things happen live on my Twitch channel on Tuesdays, so twitch.tv/Doobyis. And yeah, tonight I am proud to be hosting Max Wins, Winnipeg-based artist who I've been playing on ATSIC for, I don't know, years now at this point. I think I've been paying attention for a while. Good to have you on board, man. How you doing?
Hey, my man, I appreciate you having me on, bro. For real, it's been a long time coming. I see you doing your thing, bro. So I gotta salute that because you're definitely putting on for the Canadian rappers out here.
You know, somebody needs to, right? There's so much talent out here, and I feel like everybody has a little pocket of support in their own community or in a few select cities across the country. If they go out on some tours with some bigger artists or whatever, people get the name out there. But even, you know, I know a lot of guys who make hip hop, and I can bring up names from across the country and just get a blank stare from them. And there should be more interconnectedness on this scene. You know, people from Winnipeg should know people from Edmonton and Vancouver and Montreal and Halifax. Like it's all one scene. And you know, I've been doing my best to just put on for the entire country's hip hop scene. So week by week, that's the game plan for sure, man.
No, you're
um
definitely doing a good job at that, bro. Because like we was saying earlier, Kripal was telling me nothing but positive shit about you. So, gotta salute that, bro.
I love to hear it. Big ups to Kripal.
Yeah,
He's
big up to
always
Kripal.
making good music and always fun to talk to on Fly in Formation. So let's get into some of your music lately, man. Like you haven't dropped an album yet this year, a full album, but you could have. You've got 11 singles out through 2025, at least by my count on Spotify.
Yep.
Um, is it singles era, or are you building up to an album?
So right now, actually, like probably since April last year, I've been working on my new album, Love Me Before They All Do. And I was planning on dropping that this year, but now I think I'm gonna wait till next year and just, dial in on everything, get all my music videos right, and
Nice.
then have a bigger rollout than my previous album, because I feel like all the music that I have right now is really special. Everything that I've been working on my new shit, so I definitely want to give it that full extra push that my last album didn't have.
Uh,
So yeah, this year I'm definitely gonna drop a bunch more singles in the summertime. I dropped 11 so far this year, but I'll probably drop another 10, 11 more. And that
Damn.
rollout's gonna start in July. So
So
probably mid-July, I'm gonna start the new rollout of all those singles and shit like that.
looking forward to it, man. I know somebody who can play them on the radio if you know
Hey,
you want them
say
linked
less,
up
bro.
that
Say
way.
less.
Yes,
I'll
yes,
definitely send you all that new shit.
for sure, man. I appreciate you and all the other artists who send music over. So do you think that some of these singles that you're going to drop coming up will be from the new album? Like, will we hear them and then they'll be on the album when it drops next year? Or how much music you got in the vault right now?
Right now, I got probably like 50 songs that I'm sitting on. My next
Damn.
project's gonna be 14 songs, but all the ones that I'm gonna be releasing in the summertime are a lot of them are like features. So I got some features with some artists from Toronto, some features from some artists from Winnipeg, some features from some artists in the Dominican. So I got like a lot of different kind of vibes that I'm gonna be putting out this summer,
Nice.
and none of them are gonna be on my next album. I want to just make this like a single based kind of summertime, just a lot of fun songs, a lot of features, and kind of just still feed my audience while I'm cooking up my album. Like right now, I feel like my album's finished. I just want to get all those videos together, and me and my team are trying to like find a little distribution deal just to have that extra push, because
Smart. Yeah.
for the past 6 years I've been doing everything just in house, me and my team, and we definitely need that extra power and that extra push just to take it to that next level. So that's kind of my focus right now.
For real. Everybody, all the indie artists, talk about the importance of having that team on board and a team, helping you make the quality music. But I think having also somebody, to help with the promotion and distribution end of things can go a long ways as well.
1000%.
Yeah, definitely. So something I've been asking people so that I don't have to describe, my guests sound and sound like an idiot doing it is, can you describe your own sound? Like for people who don't know your music, what could they expect listening to some Max Wins?
I feel like I kind of with my music, I just like to give my life, you know. So I put a lot of stories in my verses, of just things that I've been through. But like I kind of feel like my music style is like a blend of Nipsey Hussle and Mac Miller,
Mm,
because those are like a big part of my influence when I was growing up. Like I was heavily influenced by like Dipset, Young Jeezy, ASAP Rocky, DMX, Busta Rhymes. So I feel like you throw all those rappers in a blender, you get me, you know? So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude, you've really been dropping a lot of like really polished up sounding, uh, you know, possibility to cross over kind of commercially accessible stuff. Is that have you been making a conscious move towards doing that and like really trying to make stuff that could get play on kind of things that aren't underground rap shows like I do, could get play on the
100
major radio stations and stuff?
100%, because the past couple years I was actually talking with some people who do like sync licensings for like video games and movies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And this one dude gave me a lot of game, and he was kind of just telling me like, look, we're not looking for this type of shit, we're looking for this type of shit, and like I would send him songs that he would just give me feedback. So I kind of just started making a lot of songs off the feedback that he was giving me, like, let me try some different shit like this. Like, let me try to polish my sound. And because before, when I was starting off, it was just bars. I wanted to prove that I could rap. But
yeah,
then after a while, I didn't really see my audience grow. So then I started to push myself and just try new things and find new different lanes and shit like that. And when I found a lane that I think I'm in right now, I really just tried to tune that up so I could be like a crossover artist, or I could have, older people listen to me, younger people listen to me. Cause when I would look at my analytics, I would see just a lot of people in like my age group, but I didn't have like a lot of like teenagers or older people listening to me. So
right.
I definitely tried to change my music up just a little bit just so I could appeal to everybody, because I want to make vibes for everybody. I don't just want to be like known as the bar guy. I want to have hit songs, and I want to be
Yeah.
the biggest.
Well, I want to thank you and give you props for putting in the work to, get the pen game proper in the first place, and then start trying to make the music that kind of has more commercial appeal to it, or that might get a Netflix deal or whatever, get you on a show on Netflix type thing. But you can still tell that you're rooted in lyricism. That even while you're doing a more commercial sound, there's still bars there for the underground hip hop heads, who are really trying to lock in and listen for bars. I think you've done a good job with that. How long have you been doing music, man? Has it like how long before you kind of made this switch, this lane change?
So I started writing music when I was 13. I'm 27 now. So it's been about 14 years that I've just been writing consistently. I didn't really get into like I got into the studio a few times when I was 16. But it wasn't consistent. I would just like do a song maybe every 3 or 4 months, shoot a video with my cousin or one of my homies, because my homie was a BMX rider, and he used to just make like BMX videos and stuff like that.
Okay,
So
nice.
I'd get him, we'd make some music videos, but it wasn't nothing really consistent. But then when I turned 19, I bought myself a studio setup, like just a home studio setup, and it's like I still record everything at my house, and then I just send it off to my engineer. But for probably 2 years, from like 19 to 21, I just recorded every day, and I would just
Nice.
stay locked in the studio, didn't release no music, just try to perfect like a certain sound. And then from 2019 to now, I've been releasing music consistently. And when I first started off, I tried to do a video every month. So for probably like almost 2 years straight, I think it was like 17 months or 18 months, I released a music video every month. And then that just kind of helped elevate my sound, um, just elevate me as an artist, and just kind of fall in love with the work ethic.
For
And
sure.
after that, the rest was kind of history. And I released probably 40 singles and like music videos before I even put out an album. But
Damn.
like when I put out my first album, I probably worked on that for like 2 years, I think from like 2022 till April of 2024.
Right.
And yeah, so that's kind of the same path that I'm on right now, is I just want to perfect this next project and just level up, take it
So
to that next level.
you mentioned that, like, early on in your music career, you were doing tons of videos, even though the album, there was no album for them. It was just singles and videos. And you mentioned for the stuff coming up, you're intending to do a lot of visuals for it. Talk about kind of how important you think that visual piece is for kind of building a brand.
I honestly just love coming up with ideas and bringing this shit to life. Like I'm a big movie nerd, so
Sure.
I watch every and any type of movies, and I kind of just take inspiration from that, take inspiration from my own life, and put those into my music videos. And a big heavy influence for me was Busta Rhymes music videos when I was coming up. Just the animation and just how he was as a character. I fell in love with that, and I wanted to recreate that. And even like coming up when like Mac Miller and Wiz Khalifa were big, like just coming up in the game, they would always just drop mad music videos, and it was always just telling their life story, even if it's just them smoking weed with their homies on the porch or just chilling in a car. Like it
Right.
was their story, it was their lifestyle, and that's like what I want to give to the audience, just a little bit into my world, and just so you could see who I am as an artist, but also just a visualizer, because I'll listen to a song for hours just coming up with ideas, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Word. I think it is important to have some type of visual to go along with the music, especially in this modern era, uh, because people want to see the person behind the music, and like you said, it kind of shows into their life behind the scenes a little bit. Um, and it doesn't always have to be something super fancy. It can just be like you said, just hanging out smoking weed, or shots from the actual studio while it was being made, or whatever. Kind of the low effort videos have been a bit of a wave. Are you looking to do kind of bigger productions for the upcoming visuals, or is it going to be more kind of like grassroots stuff with you and some homies with a camera?
So you know what? I actually just filmed a video last week for a song that I got coming called Not Crazy. And this one was like, I really like the idea. So I'll give you like a little breakdown. So I started watching The Sopranos this year.
Nice.
And if you ever seen The Sopranos, like
Seen it like
there's
four or
scenes
five times, probably.
there you
Yeah.
go. There's scenes of him talking to his therapist, and so I wanted to kind of recreate that. So I recreated a scene where I'm the therapist, kind of interviewing myself, and then there's another scene where I played both boxers, like I'm in a boxing ring and I'm fighting myself, and
Okay.
so it kind of just goes with the not crazy theme, because the chorus, I'm saying I'm not crazy, and I'm interviewing myself, I'm fighting myself. So it's kind of just showing that I battle with myself a lot, whether it's just second guessing yourself, just overthinking, you're not good enough, just everybody has negative thoughts that like creep into their mind. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I made that music video. But for this album, I have two music videos that I'm editing myself. One of them's already done. It's for a song called Dreams. And it was basically just a weekend of I went to a writer's camp in Winnipeg. So there was a bunch of artists and producers that linked up at a studio, and we all just created music together. So
Nice.
I filmed half the music video there, and then that weekend I went to a festival in Regina called Sweet Escape, where I opened up for Fat Joe, Polo G, Mercules, JRDN, a
Nice.
bunch of other Canadian legends. And I got a bunch of footage at that, just being at the hotel, just being in the room at the hotel, just the rest of the festival, performing on stage. And I ended up just putting all those clips together for a music video. And then I have another one that I'm I'm gonna finish up. I was actually filming a little bit today when I was at the baseball stadium in Winnipeg. So I filmed a little bit there. And then next month I have a festival coming up at the stadium again. So I'm gonna finish up that and then put all
Yeah,
those clips together. And
I saw that promo. Just hit your IG today or whatever, right?
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I just shot that today. So
is it called
yeah,
Tacos and Tequila or something? The festival coming up, something along those lines.
yeah, Tacos and Tequila Festival. This
Yeah,
is
man.
the second year that they're doing it in Winnipeg, so it's gonna
Big
be good.
lineup.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
good. Oh
big
yeah, oh
lineup.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How'd you? Was it tricky to get on that bill, or like, what's the hip hop scene like in Winnipeg as far as when big shows like that happen? Do you need to know the promoter, or is there a lot of competition in Winnipeg looking for those
You know what's
opening
crazy
spots?
is there is so many artists in the city. Like there's probably 30 or 40 artists that are just on the grind right now that are up and coming. A lot of youngins. Um yeah, there's a lot of work ethic out in this city. So it's good to see, but I feel like I honestly got blessed a couple years ago because I got hit up to do I got hit up to open up for Annalie Choppa 2 days in a row. Shout out to Charlie Feta. He was a part of Winnipeg's Most.
Right,
That's a big hip hop
legends.
group. Yeah,
Yeah,
legends from
originators in
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg for sure. Yeah,
1000%. Those are the OGs in my city. And I had the privilege of Feta reaching out and he put me on that first bill with Annalie Choppa and he liked what he saw and then he consistently just kept putting me on shows and then other promoters started to see that I was doing shows and they started to see my stage performance and I honestly would just get hit up by these promoters and a lot of people kind of just continually hit me up because I built a lot of good relationships with these people and
yeah,
yeah, I'm
beautiful.
honestly just really blessed to know the right people and the right people support me and they put my name in the right people's ear. You know,
Cool.
like last year I got hit up to do tacos and tequila. So this is my second year. So last year I just built a really good relationship with the promoters from Social House Entertainment.
What was the lineup
And
like last year? Was it all these big name artists like it is
last
this year?
year, yeah, last year it was Little John, Chingy, Chameleonaire, David Banner,
Oh, nice.
um,
David Banner's dope as
Mims.
fuck. Yeah,
You know
Nim's
what's
dope.
crazy, bro? You know what is so crazy? As soon as he hopped off stage, I walked up to him and I was all like, "Yo, like my name's Max Wins. I opened up for this festival, da 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 da." And he just gave me game for probably 5 minutes, and he was just telling me like, "Yo, keep doing what you're doing." Like he was just giving me mad game, and then like I posted a picture of me and him after the festival, and he ended up hitting me up after that, and like being all like, "Yo, remember what I told you," you know? And that kind of just it blew my mind, bro. Because I meet a lot of artists, and not a lot of artists like take the time to actually give you game. It's more just like
Right.
hi and bye, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But he really like he's real, and I
He's a
have so much
legend
respect for him.
on the indie scene. He's, legendary like Tech Nine is, I think. Like
One
dude
hundred percent,
has really,
100%.
done it off of his own hard work or whatever, and yeah, definitely made a place in the industry for himself. Um how about your own sound, man? You mentioned, you've got a team. Is it normally the same people doing the beats for you, or where are you getting most of your beats? Who's producing?
A lot of my producers are from like Germany, the UK. Um, a lot of them are from Europe. You know, a
Okay.
lot of my producers are from Europe. I have a few producers that I used to work with in Winnipeg. But yeah, I feel like as my sound changed and like as my taste in music changed, I just started reaching out to different producers. Different producers would reach out to me and just send me beats to my email. And if I hear a beat that I like, I'm jumping on it. You know, it
Sure.
doesn't really matter who you are, how old you are, where you're from. If that shit's fire, I'm jumping on that shit. So it honestly grows like all the time. I'm always looking for new production, always looking for just new sounds. So whenever I hear something I like, I'm jumping on that shit.
It kind of surprises me that a lot of your producers are from Europe, because a lot of the guys I talk to who are working with European producers have more of the like grimy, dusty boom bap sound, right? Like I feel when
Yeah.
I think of European producers, that's the sound that often comes to mind or whatever. But you have very much like a modern, you know, more mainstream North American sound than kind of that boom bap sound is or whatever. I guess, is it guys you've met? Because you also rap a lot about traveling around the world. You know,
Yeah.
all your songs you're talking about being here, being there. I hear a lot of like Latin influence in a lot of the beats that you choose. Do you speak Spanish or?
You know, it's funny. I went to the Dominican in January, and as soon as I didn't speak Spanish. I listened to a lot of Spanish music. I got a lot of Spanish homies and shit,
Yeah.
but never tried to speak Spanish. As soon as I went out there, I was like, bro, I need to start taking Duolingo classes because I don't understand nothing, you know? So I actually started taking some classes on that shit after my first trip out there. But
Nice.
I met like a lot of good people just traveling and shit like that. And I really just have like I just love Latin music and Spanish music. Like I listen to a lot of corridos music, and I just love it. I don't know what it is, but it hits my soul, you know. And I love that
It's
kind of
such a
shit.
good like summer vibe. You know, I feel
One
like
thousand percent.
yeah, I feel like it maybe might feel out of place playing it in the middle of a Winnipeg winter, you know.
Yeah,
But
for
once
sure.
the sun comes out and it's, you know, people out enjoying parties and festivals and stuff, I think that music definitely is gonna, you know, find the right audience and make people a lot of
Definitely some
people happy.
summertime vibes, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, I guess I wanted to ask kind of about Winnipeg too, because I remember seeing a post about you, and I'd already like, you know, been tapped in, paying attention for a while when I saw this post, and it was like, "Is Max Wins the best white rapper from Toronto?" I feel like this was like last summer. This was a while back at this point,
Yeah, yeah. That
but
was
I
on
remember shit I see,
Keep
man,
Six
and
Solid posted that. Keep Six
yeah,
Solid posted
and I
that.
saw it and was like, "Is he a rapper from Toronto?" Like I thought dude was in Winnipeg, but um, it, what, do you sometimes rep Toronto, I guess, or do you rep
No,
Winnipeg like that, or what's the deal?
you know what? That was honestly just a headline that they came up with.
Sure.
Because you know, a lot of these blogs, they kind of just want something to like get people's attention. So whether that's starting controversy of, like
Right.
that, some
Get
people
people
are gonna
arguing
comment
in the
on that,
comments.
like he's
Yeah.
from Winnipeg, he's not from Toronto, or
Okay. Yeah.
so it's kind of just a conversation starter or something controversial. But
That's
that wasn't
probably
like
smart.
something that I come up with. That's kind of just the blog pages that will post stuff like that, you know?
Sure. Fair enough. So you rep for Winnipeg, right? Because I
I
know
rep
even in
for
your
Winnipeg 100%, but I'm from Windsor, Ontario.
okay.
So I rep both places because I feel like I wouldn't be who I am if I wasn't from Windsor, you know?
Sure.
So I still rep both, but I'm definitely Winnipeg till I'm dead and gone, you know?
Do you feel like okay? So a lot of your music is like luxury raps. I want to say, you know, like you're talking about lavish things a lot of the time, and I don't know. It's just not the image that I think most people have of Winnipeg. I've been to Winnipeg. I didn't see a lot of foreign cars when I was in Winnipeg. I saw a lot of like factories and grimy shit that reminds me of, you know, industrial Alberta kind of stuff. You know, I'm here in Alberta.
100%.
Um, do you feel like it's I don't know. Do people have a tougher time believing a guy from Winnipeg's raps?
I feel like it depends on who you are and it depends on the life that you live. And,
Sure.
some people's stories are a lot different than mine that are from here. But, I grew up a certain way doing certain things and surrounded by certain people that, we do what we do.
And there are
And
those people all over, all across the map for
exactly,
sure. Yeah,
so that's like, it's all over the world where it's like that. Different places have different things going on. And if you're tapped in with the right people, you see some things, you know what I mean? So,
for real, for real. It's always a choice for artists whether they want to kind of lean into, like, you know, when I'm talking to guys from Edmonton or Calgary. I was talking to some Edmonton guys the other day, and they were talking about like the Edmonton sound might be a little bit more blue collar focused. You know, there might be some blue collar references in the bars here and there because
yeah.
well, people, and this is something I've learned talking to artists across the entire country, is that a lot of artists have moved to Alberta to work here for, you know, a season or a few years to get money up, and then they move back to wherever else to you know, pursue the music career, because Alberta is not really like a music industry hub out here for sure. But it's kind of a choice for artists whether they want to embrace the um, I don't know, the less glamorous side of the reality of where we live up here in Canada. It's tough to drive a Lambo in the winter. It's
Oh yeah.
you
Oh
know,
yeah.
I
That shit
saw.
gonna get stuck instantly, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But
Um,
that's the thing too that I really like is like, we're all our own artists and we can all talk about our own stories, you know? So there are gonna be some people like that that do talk about different subject matter than me, but I can still relate to it on a different level. You know, I might not relate to it 100%, but there's gonna be some things that stick out that I can relate back to my story, you know?
yeah, yeah, for sure, man. And the beauty of hip hop is that there's so much lyrical content that there's going to be something there that somebody will relate to, right? And you do a good job of putting a little bit of introspection in with the luxury raps or whatever. A little bit of kind of more grounded stuff here and there is definitely peppered throughout your music or whatever. I dig it. I play it all the time. So don't take any of what I'm saying here as any type of shots or anything. I enjoy the music completely, man. But
No, I appreciate that.
we just got to be real about it. Coming from places that aren't palm trees and Lamborghinis all the time, it can be a different scene or whatever. But
100%.
um, is there? Here, I wanted to ask you a few things about. Oh, actually, so I asked about the Latin influence in the beats. I also hear quite a bit of like acoustic influence in your beats. Sometimes you'll be rhyming over top of like uh, the acoustic guitar riffs and stuff. There's kind of been like this online discussion over the past years about like white guys blowing up and then turning to country. Are we ever going to witness you turning to country? What do you? How
Oh,
influenced by the country sound are you?
no, sir. No, you know what? Like, I don't knock country, but like I'm not really a country guy, you know? I did grow up like listening to rock music and stuff like that. Like my mom played like a lot of like Rage Against the Machine, Foo Fighters,
Right.
music like that. So I really do like rock and shit like that, but I wouldn't ever like switch up my style and start singing because that's just not my lane. You know, I might rap over
Sure.
some beats like that, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna still rap. You know, I'm gonna always be an artist and a rapper.
Do you find those beats appeal to people in Winnipeg and stuff more than some of the other types of beats do? Like is that a way to kind of connect with a more, I don't know, rural fan base, I guess?
You know what? A lot of those acoustic kind of beats just like they just hit me, and those are usually like my songs that I just vent on. Like
Yeah.
I'll hear one of those beats and it's just like effortless. Like that just like flows out of me. Like there's probably 3 songs on my new album that are like that, where I'm just spilling the truth and I'm just going off over some acoustic kind of beats.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I think, yeah, those beats do call well, and they give a lot of room for an artist to vent and to get a little bit more emotional or whatever.
Oh yeah. I love
Then
those kind of beats, honestly. And like for a while I never tried rapping on them, but then recently I just started finding a lot that it's just effortless. And as soon as I hear it, I feel like that song just writes itself, you know?
nice. Yeah, those are the best ones when it feels you can just have the inspiration flow through you and you don't have to work too hard for it. Um, on traditional man, you rap. I mean, the kind of thesis statement of the song is kind of about like not doing things the normal way, and there's a lot of talk on that one about not wanting a wife. And I heard on other songs, I was listening to your music all afternoon just to refresh myself, but I heard mentions of not wanting a wife on some other tracks. I wanted
Yep.
to ask about it specifically, if that was maybe stuff you had written younger, as now you said you're, I think, 27 or something.
Yep.
I think a lot of people hold off till their 30s these days to kind of look to settle down, maybe, or at least later 20s. It takes a little bit more time. But I've talked to a lot of artists on here, and one of the like segments I do is how important and I ask like, how important is this or how important is that, and just kind of open the door for conversation. And I've asked a lot of people like, how important is having a good relationship or finding the right partner, and it's one of the ones that's like the consensus is very strongly it's very important. I've only had one or two
100%.
people who say it's not. So I wanted to kind of ask you about that. Do you think the time will come when a partner will feel more important for you?
100%. Because, yeah, a lot of those tracks where I'm like talking about that is like they might be a year or two old, you know? So I might have just been fucking around and doing my thing and not
Sure.
really caring about having a shorty at that time. But the older I get, I do kind of like feel like, damn, having one solid one would be good, you know? Because especially like as I'm growing in the music industry and like even just in my city, like it's tough to find a real one because a lot of people just want to use you for this or use you for
Right.
that, or you know they think they could get this out of you or whatever it is, and it's very rare to find like a real one, you know. So that's something that I definitely kind of slowed down on, where it's just, you know, fucking around with whoever, and now it's kind of like I do want to find like something solid and something real, because I do think that that's important to have, you know what I mean? When you do have a solid one, you got to lock that down. Like I have a
Yeah.
lot of boys that like they got solid girls that they've been with for years, and like I salute that and I admire that, because I'm all like, yo, like that's something I want to have someday, you know?
I like the name of your upcoming album. I forget the exact wording of it, but
Love
love
me
me
before
before
they all do.
they all do. Yeah, okay. Because I mean that's a conversation that I can remember having when I was younger about like, can you imagine blowing up while you're still single? Like, how could you ever trust anybody after you are like, if you become some sort of fucking celebrity and you know people are throwing themselves at you like that, it would become really difficult to actually trust that anybody wasn't just kind of there for the fame and the money and the ride that way, right? So
1000%. And that's even like at the small level that I'm at right now, I'm starting to like witness that like firsthand, where I'm all like, yo, this is it's wicked out here, you know? Like I don't know, everybody's playing a different game where they just want to get theirs, and you got to be careful out here, you know?
yeah, yeah, everybody is out for themselves first for sure. Dude, I also wanted to ask you about some of the samples that I heard on these songs, and I don't feel like I'm sample snitching here because like these are some pretty big samples, right? Like on your newest Wolf freestyle there, the Don't Cry Wolf or Cry Wolf freestyle,
Yeah, Don't Cry Wolf freestyle.
right? It's like a highly recognized sample. I guess I won't go right ahead and sample snitch on
That
it
that
here.
is just the instrumental. That is like just supposed to be a freestyle for my boys Don't Cry Wolf in the city. They're a blog that, you know, they put on a lot of Winnipeg artists and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, I'll
So
have to tap in. I didn't realize that was a shout out to a blog. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So they have a segment called Canadians on Classics, where they get whatever rapper in Winnipeg to pick a old like 90s beat or early 2000s beat. They'll
Yeah,
write a freestyle to that and then pull
this
up and
makes
do the
so much more
freestyle.
sense now. Okay, well, you killed it on that. And then there was also on Tony Montana. There's a big recognizable
Yeah.
sample on there too. Um, do you? Is it just the nostalgia from hearing those that draws you to those beats, or what's the thought process behind using big samples like that?
I feel like, yeah, there's certain songs that I look for or that I'll hear and I'll send it to a producer and be like, "Yo, can you flip this sample for me?"
Yeah,
And just hearing that song in Belly, but then also that sample was on a Kanye song that Swizz Beats produced.
right.
I forget the name of that, but as soon as I heard that, I was all like, man, I need to do something like this one day. And as soon as I like kind of figured out what I want to go with, I sent that to a producer. He chopped it up and did his thing, and then the rest is history, you know? So even with my song Danny DeVito, that samples from a song called Suavemente. That's like
Yeah,
it's a big Latin record. So like everybody and like their grandparents in the Latin community, like that's one of their party songs, you know? So as soon as I heard that, I was like, I need to flip this and make it a song, you know?
nice. Yeah, good call, man. I think nostalgia goes a long ways to get a new artist kind of foot in the door with new listeners. If people hear something that they recognize, it can help a lot to, keep them from skipping on to the next thing or whatever. Um,
1000%.
I wanted to ask you, it's a topic that a lot of MCs have talked about, and a topic of internet discussion. But when you drop something called the freestyle, what are we really talking about? Is it a freestyle in the way that it's bars that weren't intended for that beat, or are you actually like freestyling off the top, or where?
So I feel like everybody kind of gets lost in that because I feel like back in the day, a freestyle was actually off the top of your head in a freestyle.
Right.
When I call something a freestyle, it's just me rapping over somebody else's beat. Like
Sure.
that's always written, all my bars are always written. So I feel like it's just kind of taking somebody's beat and then just it's like a free verse,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just call it a freestyle.
Yeah.
But
There's so
yeah, a
many
lot of people
definitions for it at this point, right? But yeah.
exactly. I feel like a lot of people still get tricked nowadays where they'll see freestyle and they'll be like, yo, you rap that off the top of your head? And it's like, no, bro. Like I wrote this, but it's on somebody else's beat. I'm not gonna call it my own song. I'll just call it a freestyle.
Other lyricists listening to those type of bars on freestyles can tell, okay, this guy's not actually like improvising this. Obviously, if he is, he's some sort of weird savant or something, like,
Yeah,
you know
because it's very rare to hear like an actual freestyle nowadays.
for sure. Can you freestyle? Do you freestyle? Do you enjoy freestyling, like actual improv off the top?
You know what? Like when I cook up, I kind of try to freestyle. Like
Yeah.
I'll usually like the first time I hear a beat, I'll bring up my phone, do a little voice memo and just ramble. Like whatever like comes to my head, I'll just kind of flow that into my voice notes and then I'll like put the pieces together and like create a song out of that. But I used to freestyle like a lot more like when I was younger, like just being with my homies, yo, pull up a beat and then we'll just go off. But lately I kind of like freestyle when I like start to make a record, but then I just put those words and puzzle them all together and make a song.
Weird. Yeah. Um, Dude, I heard a line where you said something about how back in the day you probably would have signed to No Limit. When I was listening to your stuff today, and
Yeah.
that made me think, like, in what aspect? Just in the like, you want to pump out a ton of music and not worry about its quality as much, or like, what was the
It
thought
was more
process
just
behind
like
that part?
it's more just like the independent kind of hustle that Master P had.
Okay, yeah,
So like I started my own label when I was 22 and I I probably had like 20 to 25 artists and producers. So this
damn,
was like in 2020 during COVID. So I put out probably only two songs. Like I think I had like Powder and River City Legend out. And then I was like creating a buzz in the city. A few people knew who I was. And I just put like a group together of young artists and producers. And we would just hit studio sessions, music videos, and I was kind of just orchestrating all that. So when I wrote that line, it was kind of just like I have the independent hustle that Master P had, you
yeah,
know?
okay, I gotcha. Another kind of track I wanted to ask about was Legend in My City. Um, I've talked a bit on this show about, and some guests I'll introduce, and I'll introduce them as legends in the Canadian hip hop scene. And I know full well that if I went down the street in, Calgary or Edmonton or here in Lethbridge, most people would not know who that artist was. But to me, they're a legend because I know what they've done in the Canadian hip hop scene. And I think to other people who pay attention to the Canadian hip hop scene, we can have legends who aren't necessarily like the same type of legend as, like, Jay-Z, Nas are. And you don't have to be a household name to be a legend in Canadian hip hop, basically. Um, I wanted to ask you just kind of vague, open-ended question here. What do you think makes a legend in the Canadian hip hop scene?
That's a really good question because I feel like it could be different criterias. Like for me, I think Winnipeg's most legends,
Right.
like what they've done for Winnipeg hip hop, what they've done for Canadian hip hop, and like even the indigenous like hip hop, like they put on to the max. You know what
For
I
real.
mean? Like they upped that level and they kind of gave us hope that okay, this is possible. We can do this type of shit.
Right.
So I feel like I feel like it depends and it varies because you could have like really good music and just be a legend because your music's really good. Like I call myself a legend in my city because I feel like I've put people on. I've never held game back or like try to like blackball somebody or not fuck with somebody. Like I've always showed love. I've always given back, and I put in the work to get to where I'm at. You know, I never had no handouts. Like I've built all my relationships just off being genuine, and yeah, I've put in the work to be solidified as a legend in my city. You know, so
Right.
I
Yeah.
feel like once you like it's all about that work ethic, you know, because you could have one song out and call yourself a legend, but it's like, are you really a legend? You know, you got to put years into this. You got to invest in yourself and really like put your life on the line to take it to that next level. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like that kind of makes you a legend. You know, once you like Kripal's a legend in Canadian hip hop for sure. Like
I would
he's
agree.
put in
Yeah.
that work. You know.
He's one of the few guys that I know of, even after doing this show and talking to hundreds of artists, who can book a consistent tour for himself and go clear across Canada and back and play in all these cities and actually just be the name on the bill and sell tickets for it, right?
Yeah, like I
Yeah,
think he's on tour right now doing that.
he is. Yeah, I think he might just be back in Alberta or something right now, but or on his way back, anyways. But yeah, he's been on tour since I talked to him. I think at the start of May. So like he went
That's
on
a
a
few months, you know?
yeah, right. He went on a long ass tour across Canada. But yeah, how about touring? Have you done much touring? You mentioned Regina you played in or whatever recently, but
Yeah, I've only outside of the city, I've only performed in Toronto and Regina
okay,
or in and Brandon. But yeah, that's still like Manitoba.
sure, yeah, okay. Let me ask you this, man. How famous are you trying to be? Because I feel like there are a lot of indie artists I talk to who kind of the biggest that they dream is like if they could pay their bills off of it, like get into the grant stream, pay your bills off of it, be able to be a musician for the rest of their life. That would be a lot of people's dream. You looking for more than that, or how big you trying to get?
I want to be one of the biggest artists in the world. You know, I really want to put on for Canadian hip hop and like I want to be like a Drake or Tory Lanez. You know, I
Yeah,
really I want to be there. I want to be up there with the big dogs. You know, I don't just want to be able to get by. Like I really want to build something I want to build a legacy that lasts forever. You know, and
beautiful.
once my time comes, then I can bring up the next generation and just keep doing that.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense, man. This is something I've been asking a lot of people recently, and many ways to answer this. But when's the last time that you wrote a bad verse?
Ooh, you know what? Probably like a month or two ago. There's been a few times this year, you know. I've just been going through like a lot of personal things going on, and at the beginning of the year, I was trying to finish up my album, but I just wasn't in the right mental space, you know. So like, there'd be some songs that I cook up, and I wouldn't even record because I'm all like, nah, this ain't it, you
Right.
know. So I probably like a couple months ago, you
Yeah,
know.
that makes sense. It's another way to ask artists, like, how much do you write? Like, how often are you writing? And you already mentioned earlier in your career you were doing a song a day or trying to get in the studio every day and work on music every day. And I feel like that type of work ethic, is the type of artist who produces some stuff that they can say, okay, that's a bad one. I'm not going to put that one out. Uh,
And I even had to learn that the hard way because like this year I kind of went back to all like everything that I released for the past 6 years and just watched all my music videos and listened to all my music. And there was a few songs that I'm all like, why'd I even put this out? Like I do not fuck with it, you know? Like I might like the visuals or the video, but sometimes when I hear certain songs, I'm just like, nah, I shouldn't have dropped that one, you know? But
yeah,
that's also like as an artist, I feel like as soon as you cook something up and you got an idea, you want to put that out tomorrow, you know? So I kind
yeah.
of had to teach myself like the patience and just like really like holding on to music and picking the best songs and then releasing those.
It's a fine line between like making something and being so stoked on it that you go release it the next day, and then like making something and putting it in a vault where it collects dust for years on end, and and not putting it out, right? Like sometimes that perfectionism can also be an enemy to an artist actually getting music out to the world, right?
100%. Because even with that, there are some songs that I went back to that are like still in the vault from like 2018, 2019. And I'm like, why didn't I put this one out? Like
Yeah,
this one's fire, you know?
yeah,
So there's a lot of songs that I have that I'm still sitting on that might not ever come out, and it might be like on my album when I pass away, you know? So I
yeah.
got a lot in the vault that still might see the like it still might come out, but I don't know, you know, because there's a lot of stuff that I have right now that I'm just like I'm gonna hold on to this for my next album.
It's funny because as a listener, I'm very forgiving. Like I am of the opinion that artists should drop everything, and if people don't like a song, you know, go on to the next one. Fucking whatever. It's not a big deal. Like for me, I have heard artists. Well, I've heard critics, I guess I should say, shit on albums by some of my favorite artists. And I've thought to myself, like, yeah, it's not the greatest album, but like, I'm still glad that I heard it. Some of Nas's earlier stuff after Illmatic or whatever, like after it was written as well. But there's some albums that kind of just stand out as like, well, this isn't the strongest album in this artist's collection, but it's still, I'm glad I heard it because like I'd rather hear more of my favorite artists rapping than less of it, right? So that's my opinion as a listener. As an artist myself, I I will stall and stall and stall before I put music out. I keep stuff in the vault forever and ever. So yeah, it's a duality, I guess. In I think a lot of artists have to come to grips with that and wrestle with what should be put out and how much you should put out and what shouldn't, because there was like the whole SoundCloud era where it was like drop a song a day, just get in the booth and freestyle something and drop something, and people loved that from a lot of those artists. So it becomes a question of how much you want to polish things before you end up dropping them for people to actually rate, I guess.
And that's the thing too, is like artists are still humans, you know? So everybody's going through their own shit, and it's like they might not even like that album, you know? It could be some shit contractually that like they
Right.
got to give this album in to their label because there's a deadline, there's a due date, you know? So it
Yeah.
might not be polished 100% the way that they want it, but the label's rushing them, and they got to give them that product, you know? So I feel like we never really know as the listeners like what they're going through or what's happening behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
I'm like the
That's
same way.
very
Like
true.
if I hear an album that I don't fuck with or a song that I don't fuck with by an artist, it's like I never like hold that against them of like, oh, I don't fuck with this artist anymore. You know, it's just it's a song that I don't like or I don't vibe with. So
Yeah, exactly. And listening now for my show, I do like 7 hours worth of listening to indie hip hop every week, just keeping up with the new releases every Friday. And yeah, very much I will hit follow on artists who aren't necessarily on songs that I like. But if I see Canadian artists, I'm hitting follow so that I hear the next thing that they put out, because in this day and age, it's so easy to get music onto the internet that I understand. Sometimes people are just dropping stuff for the sake of putting something out or because they're stoked on it and they want to share, whatever. It doesn't all have to be like a Billboard chart topper, in my opinion. Um, can I ask you, dude, do you get more fulfillment from the stage or from actually making the music in the studio?
that's a good question. I feel like they're two completely different highs, you know, because when you make a crazy song that you really fuck with, like there's no feeling like that. But
Yeah,
then also like performing that song on stage, and you're sharing your energy with the audience, and they're giving you that same energy back, that's a different feeling. Like I love performing. Like that shit, that's like that's a different high for me. Like the
yeah,
artists that I looked up to as performers was DMX and Busta Rhymes. Like I'll go back and watch their live videos, and just the show that they put on and how they interact with the audience. Like that's exactly how I try to be as an artist on stage. So even like me opening up for Busta Rhymes for this festival, that's like some bucket list shit for me, because I already know I got to pull Busta Rhymes like backstage or in the green room whenever I see him, and let him like give him his flowers and let him know like, hey, like
yeah.
I look up to you, you know, like I wouldn't
Absolute
be who I
legend,
am
man.
without that kind of shit, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's he's the type of artist it's got to be a little bit intimidating trying to open for, even because, like, you know, that's a high level of energy and a lot of expertise coming from him after you, you know.
100%. So I gotta set the bar high. You know, I gotta start the show off right.
Yeah, hell yeah. um how about, well, let's get into some of these how important questions here. Oh no, actually, let me ask you about some current events first.
Sure.
With what's going on in America right now, are you planning on going into America anytime soon, doing shows down there?
You know what? I've honestly been thinking about that because I got a lot of connections in New York and LA, and I've definitely been wanting to go and like tap in out there, but I feel like that might have to wait another year. You know what I mean? Just with everything going on right now, it's probably not the best time. So that's
Yeah,
kind of why I'm like traveling to like the Latin countries and shit like that, because I
sure.
still got connections out there. So I'm just picking and choosing where I'm going right now, you know? So America's probably gonna have to wait another little bit.
That makes sense, man. Yeah, that's what a lot of artists tend to be saying when I ask them that question
Yeah.
right now. I don't think anybody's too eager to see exactly what questions they'll be asked when they try to cross the border right now.
Oh
Um,
yeah, you know?
yeah, especially as like artists or whatever with online personas, I feel like that's sketchy ground. I guess speaking of, do you feel like politics has a place in music? Do you ever talk kind of about that end of things?
You know what? Not just because like I feel like it's all fucked and corrupt, so it's just like what can I do
What are
about
you
it?
gonna
You
say?
know,
Yeah,
I'm an artist. I make music, you know. The world's corrupt, bro. So it's just like it's been like that. It's always gonna kind of be like that. So I feel like for me, I just got to do what's right and let them keep fucking the world up. You know what I mean? Because we can only do so much as an artist. We definitely have an influence, but like behind that, I feel like there's a lot of higher powers that we don't know about. Like everything else that we're seeing on TV and on the internet is like that's what they want us to see. We don't actually know the people who are behind the scenes,
yeah.
you know, doing the bullshit. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, and I mean, yeah, to talk about it, everybody feels like you're supposed to be an expert or whatever.
yeah.
You know, and a lot of artists I've talked to just kind of say like, I don't pay enough attention to really like get on a podium and tell everybody what they should believe or what is really going on or whatever. So I can respect that too. There's a time and a place for it. At the same time, I will say that I love it when artists do incorporate some of that and get on a soapbox. Not necessarily for an entire album or an entire song even, but a bar here or there, you know,
Yeah.
to let us know where they stand on things. Or, you
Yeah,
know,
no, I can definitely appreciate that.
I think it was Doechii at the Billboard Awards. I saw the clip of, she's one of the few American artists. I'm another reason I'm happy to play all Canadian hip hop on After the Smoke is Clear is because to me, watching this happen in America, it's been shockingly silent from a lot of very influential, famous artists who kind of are, you know, hip hop has a fight the power element to it. And we're not hearing a ton of it. You know, Kendrick at the Super Bowl did some symbolism and stuff. That was, you know, kudos to him for that performance and whatever. But it's few and far between. And I kind of expected when this all went off that, like, you know, like some of these artists, Eminem, for instance, he went right at Trump in a BET cipher. What, in Trump's first term? So like
Yeah.
now he's silent. Like when I heard he was going to drop an album in the run up to their election, I was like, oh, good, he's going to send shots and draw a line in the sand here. And then like, no, he was rapping about Christopher Reeves again, and not a lot about any reality stuff. You know, there's a little bit maybe in there. I didn't listen to the album too many times, but yeah, a lot of artists are very silent right now, and you know, I think it might be time to start speaking up and see what happens, I guess. But nobody wants to be the first
100%.
one, you know?
And I think that's the thing too is like a lot of artists either just silence themselves because you're like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like you're wrong either way to some
Right.
sort of person, you know?
Right.
So
It's a 50-50
there's
split, right?
yeah, there's not gonna be a win-win on that, you know? So yeah, it's
100%.
definitely like a lose-lose situation for anybody who opens their mouth on that kind of shit.
Yeah, well, and especially if you're looking for a mass audience, right? Like, if you're looking to get music to everybody across the board, yeah, you don't want to step on too many toes trying to do it. That's for sure. Um, can I ask you about AI a little bit? Have you been watching and like aware of this AI nonsense that's taking over a lot of the music industry right now? Like, I'm hearing people are using AI to write their bars. I've seen discussions recently about like, well, and I've seen examples, in fact, of AI writing bars that are pretty on point. You know, even I've seen AI deliver those bars that AI wrote, and it's a little bit scary for me because, like, if somebody just started posting that and said, "Yeah, I'm a rapper from Saskatoon, and here's my output," and they used the same AI voice every time, I wouldn't be able to tell that that wasn't a real dude rapping it, right? So, um, it's it's a little bit strange to me, but the discussion that I've been seeing mostly online has been people talking about like, hey, AI can write bars that are technically good, and it can write bars that copy the style of what's popular, but it doesn't have its own opinions. It doesn't have its own personality to add to the bars, right? So you miss a little bit of that personalization. Do you have any fear of AI taking over the art space?
A little bit, you know, I don't know like too much about like the whole AI kind of situation like that's involved with music, but I remember when I first heard about it like coming out that I was a little bit like, yo, what the fuck? Like, is there gonna be like a bunch of AI rappers and musicians that start getting signed and they
Yeah.
take over the music industry because it's gonna be cheaper for the record labels to just, you know, put something together that's not even real? So I definitely have thought about like, yo, what the fuck is gonna happen to music in the future if this like keeps going at the pace that it's at, you know? But I don't know too much about it. But when I heard about it the first few months, I was definitely like, yo, what the fuck? Like, is there just gonna be a bunch of AI rappers and everybody's just gonna give up music?
I heard about just last week. Timbaland did a reveal or whatever, where
Yeah,
he's
he signed like a K-pop star, right? Something like that.
an AI K-pop star, I guess, like
Yeah.
that doesn't actually exist. And I don't know. I saw a bunch of artists talking about how he took indie artists for a ride with like going on TikTok and saying like, "Oh yeah, send me your music and I'll review it, and you might get to do a collabo with me." And so all these artists like sent music over to him, including like some artists I know. Um, and now they've trained his algorithm for his new AI fucking performer or whatever you want to call his AI pop star. But uh, it's shiesty, man. It's crooked business going on out there with this AI stuff, and I feel like they're trying to push artists out of the space more and more so. But I'm hoping that humans will still want a more human expression in their music. Who
And
knows
that's
though?
what I was just gonna say is, you know, it might work for somebody for like a month, but I feel like after that, they're gonna be like, nah, I want something real. You know, like I want a person that's actually like going through something to like give me music because you can't recreate that. You know, you can't recreate emotions and feelings through a fucking robot, you
A
know?
hundred
So
percent. Yeah.
they might be able to make like one banger, but I doubt that that will last forever. You know, it might last like a little bit, but that shit won't last forever.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. And you know, it's in the audience's hands at this point. It's really going to come down to what people want to support and what they're willing to support, and whether they're paying enough attention to know the difference, right? Because I feel like there are a lot of people who don't think about music, you know, on a day-to-day basis or a constant basis the same way that artists and hip-hop heads and super fans of this genre are thinking about it. And so I hope that when it gets introduced to the masses, you know, it doesn't become the next big thing or whatever. But Only time will tell, I guess, at this point, really.
Yeah, I guess we gotta wait and see for that one, you know?
Yeah, man. So okay, let's get into this how important segment. You can either answer on a 1 to 10 spectrum or whatever you want to do. But basically, a lot of these are questions that there's no right answer to, right? It's just to get opinions from different artists on this stuff. So um, let's go with how important is rehearsal before a big show?
Oh, that's a 10. That's a 10. I honestly didn't start doing rehearsals until like this year. Like
Okay.
the first, like, I don't know, probably like 20, 30 shows that I did, I would kind of just go out there and like freestyle. But
Well, I
that kind
feel
of
like a lot of rappers, will rap to themselves as they drive or rap in the shower their new song or whatever. And like, they feel like, okay, well, I've practiced this. I know how to say this. But it's a little bit of a different thing compared to actually like having a DJ or like actually being on a PA system someplace in a jam space practicing the show like in a rehearsal form like that.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too with performing. Like there could be shit that goes wrong. Like your DJ's computer might give out, and then you got to get a new fucking
Yeah,
cord or wire or some shit. And like you kind of like learn these things as you go, and you got to like learn to just roll with the punches. Because even in rehearsal, like you might rehearse something 20 times, but when that show day comes, it might go completely different. So you kind of just gotta adjust and like adapt to any kind of situation on stage because I've had a lot of performances kind of fuck up before, and I kind of just had to roll with the flow and keep it pushing. And
sure.
but after that, like for tacos and tequila this year, I've probably had like 3 or 4 rehearsals so far, and I got another like 2 or 3 that I'm gonna do before the show. But yeah, like this is my first time ever like doing rehearsals, but I wanted to do this year because I wanted to be bigger and better than my performance was last year. So
Yeah,
I definitely think rehearsal is 10 for sure.
right on, man. Always onward and upward, right? Just keep getting better. Um, how about how important, and this kind of plays off of what you were just talking about, that sometimes the beat might drop out or something goes wrong between songs and you end up kicking the last half of a verse a cappella or whatever, right? We've all seen it, we've all been there. Um, how important is banter or storytelling between songs when you're on stage?
I feel like that's like my go-to, because I love just kind of engaging with the audience and fucking with the audience. And, like me and my hype man will start chants like, fuck that side, fuck this side. Like, I love just engaging with the crowd in between my set or in between my songs, because I feel like with Busta and Spliff Star, every time I watch one of their live performances, that's their shit. Like that's
Yeah,
what gets people going, and that's what I fell in love with when I watched him perform and shit like that, and that's what inspired me. So ever since I started performing, I've always engaged with the audience in between my songs and talked a little shit, and
yeah,
sometimes it's in the moment, but sometimes I'll have something like, okay, I know I want to say this after this song or whatever, but a lot of that stuff kind of just comes from making mistakes during previous shows. And sometimes it might get quiet in the room, then you got to just say a little something just to keep the energy up there. And
yeah.
so I definitely love engaging with the audience like that.
For sure. Yeah, that all that comes with experience too. The more people are on stage, the smoother it seems when they have to banter or even if it is a planned thing. I was talking with shit, I don't know. I do so many of these interviews that they all blur together, but I was talking with somebody on a recent interview about like how if you plan something, then you end up going up there trying to like flex your acting skills, So we were kind of debating whether like spontaneous banter ends up being better than like when you have something planned to say, because you have to be a good actor to make it seem like you're up there doing it for the first time, saying it spontaneously. And sometimes you can hear when somebody's banter is like pre-planned or whatever, canned like that, right?
100%. And yeah, like I feel like the best moments kind of do come when it's freestyled, like you just get up there and it's something in the moment that you either notice in the crowd or you just think of on the spot, and you
Yeah,
got to just roll with that. Cause yeah,
for
there's a
sure.
lot of moments that I could think of when I performed before that. Like last year at Tacos and Tequila, I just like kind of let everybody know, like, yo, like if you don't know that I'm from this city, like this is a big moment for me because I'm from Winnipeg, and a lot of those like people in the audience didn't know who I was.
Right.
So once I kind of just broke it down to them, like, yo, I'm performing at the Gold Eye Stadium. I was raised in Winnipeg. Like this is a big moment for me. Like I
For
feel like I
sure.
kind of won over the crowd because they didn't know who I was, and that was just something that I felt in the moment that I just had to like give my appreciation to them because it's all like, yo, like I'm from here just like you guys are from here, but I'm
Yeah.
opening up for the biggest festival that like the biggest rap festival our city has ever seen, you know? And I'm the first Canadian artist to be on Tacos and Tequila. So that was like a big thing for me too,
Super dope. Yeah, but to be the hometown hero, they got to know you're from the hometown. So
you
definitely good to
know?
tell them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Spliff Star, legendary hype man for Busta Rhymes, and you did mention that you have a hype man. How important is having a hype man on stage?
I feel like, yeah, shout out to my boy FPS Dre because he is the best hype man ever. You know what I mean? And he used to be like he still is an artist, but he doesn't drop as like re or like as frequently anymore.
Okay.
But we got booked on a show in 2020 or 2021. Like we were both put on the same bill and we were supposed to go on like after each other. But we just decided like, yo, fuck it, let's share our sets. I'll be your hype man, you be my hype man. And ever since that day, it was magic. And we were just like, yo, we gotta rock this out till the fucking wheels fall off. Like every time I got a show, he's on that shit with me and he's right beside me and turning the crowd up. So I feel like that's a 15 out of 10. Like us sharing that energy on stage is different, you know, because that's like my brother.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just us sharing that energy on stage, the audience can just feel that. They can tell like how tight we are and it just kind of relates to them. And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like having a hype man is just it's dope because we could just fuck around with each other. You know, we're really boys like that. So we could just fuck around and have fun and the audience has fun because it's
Yeah.
genuine, you
They
know?
they
So
feel that energy. You know, it's
exactly.
a lot of artists have said, you know, they don't necessarily need a hype man or want a hype man on their sets. And Busta Rhymes is a great example for us to talk about here that we're mentioning because like a lot of the MCs I've talked to who have had that opinion that they don't need a hype man say like, you know, I've practiced over the years to get the energy up myself or whatever, and I feel like I can do it myself. And that's fair enough. But if Busta Rhymes is still out there with a hype man, I think that goes a long way to show that like regardless of how good you personally are on stage and how much energy you personally are bringing, there can still be that other element that you can incorporate by having somebody else up there with you, like you were just talking about.
Exactly. And I feel like when it's like someone that you're really tight with and you're really like homies with,
Yeah,
it's a different kind of energy, you know, because we could just feed off each other's energy. And I might say something that just sparks him to have an idea to say something and it's just good energy, you know, and that
yeah,
just resonates with the crowd and they feel that, you know, and that really like relates to them and just it's like magic, you know, it's like magic.
hell
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. How about how important is it that the listeners understand your lyrics?
Feel like that one's kind of tough because I feel like it's a 10, but also it could be a 0 because this is my life story, so I could give a fuck less if they understand what I'm talking about. I'm telling my story, but then at the end of the day, it could also be a 10 because I do want everybody to understand what I'm talking about and
Yeah,
I want to paint that visual aspect of like, oh yo, we just said this or like even they might go back to this interview and be all like, oh yo, remember when he said this in that interview, but he's saying this on the song and you know, so I want to paint that visual picture for everybody. So I'm iffy on that because like I also watched a video with Bad Bunny and he's a Latino artist
yeah,
and all his songs are in Spanish and he's all like I could give a fuck less if Americans understand me or not. I'm making music for my people, you know?
right.
So I'm kind of on the same thing where it's like if you get it, I love it. If you don't, that's all good, you know?
Yeah.
So
When a guy like Bad Bunny has had no shortage of success in America with English speaking audiences as well, right? Everybody knows who he is and knows his music. So yeah,
100%.
sometimes it might not matter, I guess. But how about how important is a song's title?
I feel like yeah, that's like another 10 cuz that like draws them in right away, you know? They might see a title and be like skip, or they might see a title and be like, "Yo, I got to hear what he's talking about on this one." You
Right.
know?
Do you tend to name tracks by well, here's a question. Do you name a track before or after you write it?
Um Usually after. Like I'll usually, like, if I have a song like Tony Montana,
Sure.
like in the chorus, let's say I've been feeling like Tony Montana. So that's just pretty
Yes.
obvious that I'm gonna call it Tony Montana. But yeah, I always feel like it depends on what I'm saying in the song or in the chorus. Cause some of my songs like Letter to My Scale, which I dropped this year,
That
like I
was a
don't
dope
say,
track. Yep.
I appreciate that. I don't say nothing about Letter to My Scale. Like I don't
Right.
use that word, but in the song, that's what I'm talking to. You know what I mean? But it's also like you could take that as like I'm talking to a female in the song, you know?
Right.
So it plays like a double kind of
If it
aspect
didn't
where,
have that title, people might not pick up
yeah, like
that.
it could
Yeah.
be a love song, but it's also like a love song to my scale, you know? So that's why I called it Letter to My Scale, you know?
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
yeah.
Um how about how important is any substance to your artistic process? Weed or drink or whatever else.
You know what's crazy? I actually, bro, I was smoking weed since I was 16 and I quit when I was 26.
Okay.
So like a few months ago I quit. I honestly just started getting like really paranoid. I just like, been going through some life shit, and every time I would start
Dude,
smoking, I just like started getting paranoid, and I was like, yo, you know what? I think it's time to give this up. So yeah, the
I
past couple
have been
months I haven't
hearing
smoked at
that
all.
from I've been hearing that from so many people recently. I feel like I think since they legalized and you can go in and buy commercial weed now, I feel like maybe there's something in the fertilizers these fuckers are using industrially, or maybe it's just the potency of it has went up and up and up to a point where yeah, everybody gets anxiety off of it, but like, dude, my name is Doobyis. I have been smoking religiously for a long fucking time, and like, still, I there's some strains that I'll smoke them, and it's like, what the fuck is this? It's like anxiety attack weed. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, dude. So
It's
I don't know.
different
A lot of
nowadays,
people have been
bro.
talking. Kripal. When I asked him that question, he said he's switched to diet weed. That he's smoking CBD weed mostly, and a lot of
Oh
the time
shit.
that's what I'm mixing CBD weed with more potent weed most of the time. That's what I've been on for the last few months, anyways, because it just feels more mellow that way. Which is more what I'm looking for. I'm not trying to feel my heart beat through my fucking chest.
Yeah, nah, I hate that shit. I hate
Yeah,
that shit. And
yeah.
like for a while too, I'd always just have a spliff and be writing. Like that was always my go-to. I'll roll up a little spliff and then just get to writing. Sometimes I'll take a couple shots of tequila, but the past few months I've been doing everything sober, you
Have you
know?
noticed
So
a difference in the pen game?
yeah, and I actually love it because I
Yeah.
feel like I was getting to a point where I felt like I kept making the same song over and over. Like
Mm,
I feel like I kept saying the same bars or saying the same flows, and once I quit, I feel like I kind of tapped into a different energy, you know? And yeah, like a lot of the songs that I've been writing just feel a lot different than my previous work, you know?
nice, man. Looking forward to hearing what's coming next.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
super excited for you to hear this new album.
hell yeah. Um, how about how important is getting grants? Have you ever fucked with the Canadian grant system?
You know what? I fucking hate applying for grants because I never got accepted before. And it's like something that, like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know if it's my music. Like, I don't know what it is because I usually get my sister to write them, and my sister's like super smart, super wordy. Like, she's a
Sick.
writer, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So she knows how to write everything. And like the last time I applied for a grant was last year to get reimbursed for everything that I spent on my album. And once I got denied from that, I was kind of just like, you know what, fuck this. Like, I'm gonna just keep doing it my way. And, because even with grants, like, if you do get a grant, you gotta wait for them to get back to you. You gotta wait for this, wait for that. And it's just it's a waiting game. Like, I'd rather just put my own money into like my own situation and then make it happen when I want to make it happen.
Yeah.
I don't got time to wait for anybody else.
Full independence, full artistic freedom. Yeah.
Exactly.
Um, a conversation I've had around grants lately has been uh, about like conceptual albums. I feel like Canadian artists in Canadian hip hop, we get a lot of full albums that are like a concept album about, I'm going to tell this story, or every song is going to be regarding this one thing. And I think that the grant system has like spawned that into existence. Not to say, of course, sometimes artists will make concept albums just on their own prerogative, but I feel like that's a good way to get a grant, is by telling them like, oh yeah, and this album covers the history of my community, and I talk with voices, or I sample voices from the community throughout it, talking about the history of the town or whatever. Like, you see a lot of that when you listen to 7 hours worth of Canadian indie rap every week. And I think that has the grant system, behind it, pushing that. How important do you think concepts are for albums?
Um, I feel like I don't know, because for me, like my first album was called Comfortable in Chaos, and I wanted to paint that picture, of being comfortable in chaos, the way you grow up. Your household might not be the best, your living circumstances might not be the best, and you got to be comfortable in that. But
Yeah,
I don't really consider that like a like concept album, like I feel like for me as an artist, I don't know if I would ever like do like a concept album, just because I don't think it really relates to like who I am as an artist.
sure.
But I do kind of think all my albums have concepts, like Love Me Before They All Do. The concept on that is talking about a lot of love and a lot of relationship, and
Yeah,
people backstabbing you, losing friends over this and that. And when you start getting more popularity, everybody thinks that you're fucking a millionaire and all this kind of shit, so it's getting used to how people start to treat you different. And so I talk a lot about that on my new album.
yeah. Let me ask you this. I'll ask one or two more of these how important questions. We'll wrap this thing up. But how important is making music that women like?
You know what? I think that's a 10. Because for a lot of years, I didn't give a fuck about who listened to my music. I just wanted to make music that I fucked with. But after I remember I was chilling with like this one shorty and her friend was telling me like, yo, you don't got nothing for us to like bump and like nothing for us to listen to. Like, we don't just want to throw on all these like hard beats and hear you talking about trapping and all this shit.
Gangster
You know what I
shit.
mean?
Yeah,
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 we wanna hear something for the ladies. So the past couple years, I kind of been trying to make some more songs like that for the ladies, and just kind of
yeah. You solved that problem, bro. You got all sorts of songs that the ladies can vibe to at this point, I think. Uh,
100%. So yeah, I definitely been working on that for the past like 2 3 years, just trying to be better as an artist for everybody, for the ladies, for the guys, like all that kind of shit. So
yeah,
like on my next project, there's probably like 2 or 3 tracks that are like for the ladies on there.
yeah. It's a bit of a tightrope act to make stuff that the guys and the ladies are both gonna like.
100%. And that's like what I try to like balance with is the lady songs. I do want like guys to be able to still bump that too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I have this one song called Addicted uh on my next project. And I'm basically just talking about she addicted to me. So that's something that every guy can like listen to, is like,
sure.
she's addicted to me, like whatever it is. But then it's also something for the shorties that it can relate to them too. And it just kind of goes both ways, and it's just has that balance where everybody can kind of enjoy it.
For real. Um, how about physical location? How important is physical location for an artist?
You know what? I feel like that's like 5% on a scale of 1 to 10 because it does matter, but then it also doesn't at the same time, just because of like technology and just having your phone. Like all you really need is your phone nowadays to like
Yeah,
reach people and wherever. Like all the connections that I made across the world were just people tapping in through Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, whatever it is. And I built those relationships to where now when I go to their cities, I actually meet up with them.
yeah,
So I always used to kind of think like, yo, fuck being from Winnipeg. Like we're being held back. Like this is such a small city. Like we don't have a music scene. But I feel like slowly, like that shit's growing and we're building.
yeah.
So it does matter, but then it doesn't at the same time because I feel like even for a lot of Canadian artists, we're kind of limited to just okay, if you want to blow up, go to Vancouver or Toronto, you
Right.
know. But even with that,
Montreal
it's
maybe too.
yeah,
Montreal's popping off lately. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like those are kind of like the main hubs in Canada that everybody knows about and there's a lot of music shit out there. Like a lot of labels are in Toronto. A lot of music or a lot of movie shit gets done in Vancouver, you know? So it's like it depends on who you are as an artist and like how you can utilize your situation. Like for me, I'm still learning how to grow as an artist and how to make new connections like everywhere. But I feel like it's growing, you know, and that's just something that'll keep happening and
for
with
sure.
time too, you know, because I don't know. I feel like a lot of people try to blame where they're at for their situation. Like they're all like, "Oh, I'm from fucking butt fuck nowhere, and no one knows me," and da 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 da.
Yeah.
But it's just like you can meet the right people online. You just gotta search and you gotta
The
put that
internet
work
makes the
in.
world a lot smaller, right?
1000%. And
Yeah,
it'll fucking blow your mind how small the world is when you actually like start tapping in with certain people because you'll be like, yo, you're related to this guy, but you know what I mean? Like I've met so many people through just internet shit that I'm all like, yo, like, how do these people know each other? And I met them
right.
on two different occasions, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I think it was before we started up the stream here today, but I was talking about being 6 degrees of separation with everybody in the Canadian industry at this point because I've talked to 100 people and everybody knows everybody. Paying attention to the local scene or whatever. So,
And that's
uh,
the thing too, like when you're coming up in Canada, like it's so small that if you're making noise, you're gonna know some people, you know what
yeah,
I mean? And they're gonna respect it,
yeah.
especially like if you're dope, you know?
For sure, man. I wanted to ask you too. This just talking about this kind of made me think. Earlier, you mentioned a lot of your producers are from Europe. Are they? And when you said that at first, I figured like, okay, so he just happens to buy beats off of European producers. But then later, you mentioned that like you would send a sample to a producer and ask them to flip it in a certain way. So it's not necessarily just like you're finding these European beats on BeatStars. It's Are they actually guys you've kind of built a working relationship with?
Yeah, so it kind of goes both ways. Like some of the producers, I just found them on YouTube, but then we built that relationship over the years. But
Right.
then some people, they'll just find my Instagram, they'll send me beats to my email, and they're super dope. So I'm all like, hey, I gotta stay connected with this dude.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes both ways because some of my producers I just found off Instagram, and then we built really good relationships. And like I got some of their numbers where I'll just text them and be like, hey, can you flip this? Can you flip this?
Nice. Yeah.
And once they like really fuck with you, I feel like they'll just send you everything and anything, and they'll be like, yo, what you need me to do? You know?
Yeah.
And like when you're actually putting in that work and they see like the growth from you, they'll fuck with you, you know?
A lot of producers get tired of sending people beats and then never seeing a finished product come back from, MCs who get sidetracked or whatever else. So yeah,
Exactly. And I
definitely
think
if they see you putting in work, it's easy to build relationships and, people like making dope art. So,
exactly. And I think a big thing too for a lot of like up and coming producers is a lot of them are just trying to get the big placements. Like they
right.
don't really care about building and growing with an artist. But I was honestly like lucky enough to find artists that they're still doing big shit with. Like a lot of my guys in the UK, they're doing a lot of shit with like the pop in London rappers. But since we got that relationship that was like built super early on,
Right.
they got that loyalty to me where they're just like, yo, whatever you need, I got you, you know?
It's a good position to be in, man.
One
That's good
thousand
shit.
percent.
All right, man. We've been talking for about an hour and a half here. Time has flown past, so we should wrap this thing up. Can I ask you before I let anybody go from this show. I ask the same question. Can you describe your local hip hop scene?
Ooh. There's a lot of different artists, man. Like I wanna shout out a few artists if I can. I wanna shout out Sandman,
Yeah.
because Sandman's he started off as like a rapper, but he's kind of making like not folk music, but I don't even know how to describe this kid, but he is a fucking genius. Like he plays basically every instrument, and he's got a band when he performs, like he's a singer. He's kind of like a pop star,
Okay.
but he's super dope. He's an artist you should definitely check out.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but
something I
then we
also
also
always ask people is give some shout outs because yeah, this is how I find new artists to follow. If anybody knows who's dope, it's the artists in each individual community, right?
definitely check out Sandman. Reese, he's another artist that's kind of like a pop star where he'll fucking blow your mind. Like he sounds like a Post Malone or like someone on that
Okay.
kind of pop level but he also plays the guitar and like just super talented individuals. But then we also got artists like my boy Eastside Capo, free Eastside Capo. Um, he's one of my homies that I've known for almost 10 years, and we kind of grew up making music together. And he's got an unfortunate situation right now that is going on, but he's another artist that you should definitely look up. And once he gets out, definitely tap in with my boy. So shout out Eastside Capo. And man, there's a lot.
Dude, I
Who
wanted
else?
to ask you about YSN Fab.
Yeah,
As I was listening to your music, I was like, I feel like you two guys would work well together. And then Spotify fed me a song where you guys
nephew.
were, yeah, nephew, right, where you're on the
Yeah.
same track together. He's Winnipeg based, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, he's from Winnipeg.
Right.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
he's a super dope artist too. YSM Fab, super dope. Man, there's a lot that like I can't think. Oh, Sleepy Zay. Sleepy Zay is a youngin coming up right now. He's kind of like on some boppy, like New Jersey kind of vibe, but he
okay.
makes super dope, like fun music. A lot of energy, super genuine kid. Um, we honestly have so many different like styles and flavors in Winnipeg that it's like we're just like a melting pot of everything that you can think of. Like we got grimy shit, we got super fun hype shit, we got soulful shit, we got pop shit. Like we have everything in the city. And that's kind of why like I feel like Winnipeg is gonna be solidified as like a Toronto or a Vancouver or Montreal, because we have everything and anything that you fuck with. Like if you don't fuck with me, you're gonna fuck with this artist. If you don't fuck with that artist, you're gonna fuck with this artist. So
For real.
shout
Yeah.
out to everybody putting in that work, man. I know I'm forgetting so many fucking people, but we have so many dope artists. Even like Afro beats artists. Like there's this one kid named Young Chris, super talented kid. Like we got it all here. We got it
We
all
talked
here.
about the OGs at one point, but let me shout out Hellenbach. I was supposed to talk with Hellenbach last month.
Okay.
He's Winnipeg based as well,
Yep.
but we had to delay. He was having some shit go on in his life the day that it was supposed to be. So hopefully I get a chance to talk to him again. But yeah, definitely a lot of different lanes and different styles coming out of Winnipeg. I would agree with you.
100%. Yeah, and
Yeah.
shout out the OGs that paved the way, like Young Kid, now known as YK the Mayor, Winnipeg's most, John C, Brooklyn, Charlie Feta.
Yeah.
Um, shout out to Kino, shout out to ROZ, like all those boys, like the EMB boys, the whole squad, Quasi. Yeah, shout out to everybody who paved the way for us.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right, man. Here's a
Also,
new.
hold up. I gotta
Okay.
give one more shout out to Finale. Finale is a Winnipeg OG that I tapped in with him in the studio a couple years ago, and just seeing how he made music made me create music differently, So shout out to him. It's always been nothing but love, and he's a real one, So definitely got a shout out to my boy.
Beautiful. So a question that I'm gonna start asking everybody before I end these shows: is there a Canadian artist who you haven't worked with who you'd like to work with?
Ooh, there's a lot. I feel like on the underground scene, DBX. Have you ever heard of him?
No, that's a new one to me, I think.
DBX, definitely check him out. I think he's from Edmonton.
Okay.
Um,
Damn, see, I
and
lived in Edmonton for 15 years, so I know a lot of Edmonton rappers, but it's a big scene there too. I feel like
yeah,
each of the cities, if there's a million people, there's going to be some dope artists in it, and it kind of separates itself into pockets. So it seems like it's impossible to know everybody in any one city. But yeah, okay, I'll check out DBX for sure.
yeah, DBX is super dope. Jason Pax. Um, do you know who JRDN is?
Yeah, yeah, singer.
Yeah, so me and him actually we built like a good relationship after the Sweet Escape Festival. And he brought me out to the show in Brandon that him and Classified did, and I got to come out on stage and do a little song in between sets. Or he brought me out on his set. But yeah, shout out to Jordan and Classified.
Yeah,
Um
there's some
there's
Canadian legends, Jordan and
oh yeah,
Classified. I think they're both in
100%.
that category. Yeah,
100%. Even Mercules. Shout out to Mercules. He showed
yeah.
me nothing but love. We definitely need to get a track in. There's a lot of
Damn,
Canadian legends.
you haven't worked with Mercules? I feel like there
We
are a
need to
lot
get
of
something. We need to get something.
he's
Me
made
and
a
him
lot
would
of
be
songs with a
fire.
lot of MCs who are not at your caliber. You two could kill something for sure, man.
We definitely need to get some work in.
Yeah, all right. About anything that we should plug? I mean, the tacos and tequila show coming up. Can people buy tickets for that right now, or
Yeah, you could go to tacosandtequilawinnipeg.com. Get your tickets now. We're almost a month away. That's going to be on July 19th. And yeah, be on the lookout for my next album, Love Me Before They All Do. Still don't got a release date yet, but probably top of next year. And then yeah, next month I'm just gonna be releasing a lot of singles, probably till end of September, end of October. So there's gonna be a lot of music coming out in the summertime.
right on? Where are you most active on social media for people to follow?
You can follow me on Instagram at MaxWinsLS, and then I'm also on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all that shit. But I'm mainly on Instagram, and I'm always looking at my DMs. So hit me up.
Beautiful. All right, man. This has been fun. It was nice to meet you, and thanks for doing this. Appreciate you.
Hey, my man, likewise. And yo, I want to give you your flowers for setting up this platform for all the artists across
Hey,
Canada to come on here and we share that exposure, you know what I mean? So definitely appreciate you. This was a great interview. You asked a lot of solid questions that I never heard before. So I just want to salute you on that, bro. I know that you put in a lot of hard work. So
thank
keep
you.
doing your thing, bro.
Thank you. That means a lot. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of your music. Keep me in the loop, man. I'll be
I
around
got
to
you.
keep supporting.
I
All right,
got
dude.
you, bro. My
Hell yeah.
man, love, bro. Love.
Right on. Peace. All right, so there we go. That was Max Wins. I feel like Max is the best name that you can give your child if you want them to become a rapper. Now I know Max Prime from Edmonton. I now know Max Wins from Winnipeg, as well as Max Moon, who is dropping on Han Solo coming up soon. So, shouts to all the hip hop Maxes out there. Anybody who's watching this on YouTube, thanks for sticking around. Hit that follow button, hit the like button. These things happen live on Twitch on Tuesdays, and you can always hear the audio for them. The only place that these podcasts are audio only is over on mixcloud.com/Doobyis. After the weekly hip-hop mixes of After the Smoke is Clear, ATSIC at Sick Radio. Either me or DJ Dice brings you an hour worth of indie rap every week from Canadian artists across the map, coast to coast. We got you covered. Appreciate everybody coming through. We got a lot of interviews coming up through the end of the month here. In fact, there's one that I'm quite excited. We just added next week on the 15th on Sunday. Well, I guess it's this week. I'm doing 2 a week. So used to saying next week because normally it's only Tuesdays, but through June, I'm doing interviews both Tuesdays and Sundays. So coming up June 15th on Sunday, I'm talking to Quake Matthews. He just dropped an album called Patio Season. I want to say it dropped today. If not today, very soon. I've heard it. It's very dope. I've been playing singles from it. Very much looking forward to talking to Quake. You know, I think he's legend status out on the East Coast. June 17th, I talked to Montreal-based artist Slick Jack. He's been doing a lot of dope music over the last few years that I've been playing on AtSick, real grimy Montreal-based stuff. After him, I talked to Stoneham, June 22nd. Stoneham just sent over The Fight Volume 2. He's got a new album out. You know, I tapped in with The Fight Volume 1 and played that on AtSick, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago at this point. I'd have to look to know for sure, but looking forward to talking to Stoneham. We have messaged quite a bit over the years, never actually got to talk in, you know, not quite in person, but on a video call anyways. June 24th, I talked to Saskatoon-based duo Harvey Dent, Ev Thompson, and Ev Thomas? I don't know. Harvey Dent. Ev and Curls. For some reason, I'm blanking on Ev's last name right now. Thompson, I think. Sorry, Ev. And then June 28th, I talked to Junk. He's a Vancouver-based artist, but when I talked to him, he's going to be in Europe someplace on tour. So that interview is going to happen at 1 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. That was the only time that we could line up that was going to make any sense in June. So, you know, there's no real rules. I stick to Tuesdays usually through June. Last year I did Tuesdays and Sundays, so that was what I was aiming for this year again. And then I'm taking July, August off to go relax and be on holiday. Still going to do weekly After the Smoke is Clear music mixes, but there won't be weekly interviews for the 2 summer months. And then I'll be back to interviews in September. So, you know, appreciate y'all for coming through, supporting. If you like the music, go buy it. Support your favorite artists. It costs 99 cents to buy a single, and that puts a little bit of money directly in an indie artist's pocket, and, you know, saves them from having to bankroll a bunch of merch. I know that we all like to buy physical stuff. I know that we all like to, you know, have a CD collection, have a vinyl collection, but you can buy digital music and it still is supporting the artist. So I buy everything that I play on After the Smoke is Clear as a 99-cent single. I would go absolutely broke if I was trying to buy, you know, vinyl for everything that I play. It would be an astronaut. I'd need to win the lottery to do it. So, you know, shouts to the artists who send music over. Shouts to everybody who supports the show. I appreciate y'all very much. And I'm going to keep doing the damn thing. I'll be back on Sunday afternoon. Sunday with Quake Matthews. We talk at 3 o'clock. Tap in then for the live stream. Peace.